You've stumbled into some kind of show. It's Binge-Watchers podcast. We're here to stuff your stockings with another movie.
Mm-hmm.
Usually I only spoil the movies that I love. Of course, they like to call me Johnny Spoiler. The name just stuck around. Joined as always by the Savage Holiday Queen.
Mm-hmm. I am that holiday
Jordan
queen.
Savage. Usually call her freaking Scream Queen, like a Scream Queen from the scary movies, guys. You know what I'm saying? And we're gonna do a little podcast show thing for you. Let's see, what do we got for stocking stuffers this week? Let's take a look. Let's reveal this movie. Bam! Oh, that was too well practiced. I just got this in my stocking. I have no idea what it is. Batman Returns. It's actually on a double feature DVD with the other Batman from the 80s. We're talking about it's Batman 89. All right. Before we go into the movie, really, I want to talk about maybe some unusual holiday traditions or weird Xmas type stuff that happens, or anything that might be like in our own dysfunctional family trees, like holiday festivities, traditions, whatever. One thing is I looked up with my buddy, little internet search. It's like, and it's not powered by AI, folks. Not everything's AI. Some things are just a search engine. Okay, I don't need ChatGPT's help to look up what weird Christmases. On several lists, basically every list of weird Christmas stuff was the same. I'm looking at 30 articles. They're all saying the same 5 or 6
Really?
things. Well, number one is Krampus. And I'm like, oh, yeah, because in the last 10 years, Krampus has become more popular than Santa Claus.
Mm-hmm.
So apparently Austria claims him or whatever. So then somewhere in Germany, they're putting pickles in trees. They're just dangling pickles or something.
Interesting.
I don't know why. Why would you hang up a pickle at Christmas time? It seems like there should be a different pickle magic person, at a different time of the year, that could have their own pickle thing happen. But for
I gotta
reason,
look this up.
Yeah, that was pretty strange. Apparently the Danish are the ones who may have started the stockings, but they were their little booties or their actual shoes. But then by the fireplace, I was like, wait a minute. So you put your shoes by the fireplace, hoping to get something nice in your shoe, and the bad kids didn't get coal. It seems more like a joke. Like if they wanted to play a joke on the kids, they would stick a potato in the shoe. But I'm thinking, if it's 1500s, 1600s, 1800s, getting a potato might be a good present because you're starving. You might actually want the potato in your shoe.
Potatoes looking pretty good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You make potato soup or something, keep yourself warm by that fire. But I just think booties or socks actually next to a fire. I mean, I know some people who own homes might actually hang stockings from the front of a real fireplace. But I'm still thinking, doesn't it just seem like a fire hazard? You're just going to melt your stockings down to nothingness.
It's always when things start smelling like they're burning and you're raising the Christmas lights kind of are going off in your brain where you're like, ugh. But the funny thing with the Dutch is that those clogs used to be made of wood, but then you put it next to a fire.
Even worse, right? You got wooden shoes next to a fire. What is happening here?
What is happening?
I do love the idea of the old school days living on the farm, or the medieval days where your most prized possession might be some kind of animal, a cow, a goat, perhaps. Yeah. And it's everybody is gonna barn up together in our little mud hut or whatever. You know what I mean? That's them some real holidays, everybody just gathering together,
I love it.
With their whatever, I don't know. And then the Japanese eating KFC at Christmas time is on everybody's list. I saw other podcasters talking about it on Instagram. And it's on all these lists also, that that's the big thing. This is 20 years ago, KFC took off in Japan. And for some reason, somehow it became
synonymous
a Christmas seasonal thing that the families in Japan are going, which is it seems like that's the most American thing. Or do you know what I mean? Why aren't we sitting here eating KFC around the Christmas tree? You know what I mean? I thought about this and I was like, forget turkeys and hams. Why the hell don't we just have a bucket of chicken? You know what I'm saying? Anyway, so I don't find that very weird. I find that very like.
I like that one.
It's like a good idea. Just get a family bucket of chicken, and sit around, and we can all have the same cardiovascular experience during the holidays. Let's see what else is going on. Oh, and then any weird traditions in our family. You know what stuck out to me? I don't know how many. I don't know, like, who does this really, but like the two things that come to mind. I might have mentioned one of them last year. I thought I talked about what my dad did. I think last year I mentioned. Did I tell you the story about like my dad would make the elves like actually more like aliens? So like his elves were green, just like little green men, but they were little green elves instead. So he always had the myth of like the Santa Claus helpers instead of like his idea was like there was a Santa Claus figure, but he would recruit others, right? Okay. And then you'd have this magic touch you every year or whatever. So like he would do that thing where he would put on like he'd come out with green makeup on his face. And like, listen, it's happening, kids. You got to go to sleep. The transformation has begun. You know what I mean? Yeah. He's like, I got work to do. You know what I mean? I got to get to work. Santa's helper. I thought that was pretty cool. And then on my mom's side, there's this thing called a money ball. They would take like ribbon and like the kind of like, but it's like paper ribbon. You know what I mean? You get those like decorations, but if you roll them up, they start to become a ball. And if you tape money, like coins, kids, there used to be actual metal money in the United States called coins.
Or paper money even.
Times, actual physical money that existed. That had value, mineral value, because they were made out of minerals, believe it or not. They're made out of rocks, and they had value. They're pretty much scarce. It's almost like they're mythological now. But so would roll money up in there. Later on, I feel like they maybe have put some gift cards or actual dollars in for the teenagers, but that doesn't really roll up that well, especially if it's taped inside. So the ball just gets bigger and bigger, right?
Right.
And for the most part, it's chump change. It's like your little kid, so you get $10 worth of change. It's awesome, right? Or $20, $50. I mean, there was one year, I don't know who won the lottery that year, or who sold the prize cow. We were talking about animals in your houses earlier during holiday times to keep them because they had value. But look, I think one year those damn balls there was like $300. That was killer. Gonna buy a lot of Ninja Turtles. A lot of burritos from down the gas station on the hill. Gonna get some Nintendo games. You got anything stand out like in your
no,
your family did or whatever?
Basic stuff. But the best one that I had was my brother's father's Christmas. I had only gone with him once to my brother's dad's house, and they actually had a pink bunny costume, like from A Christmas Story, and it would like be regifted every single year to one person, but you wouldn't know like who gets it.
Oh, it's like an Eaner gift. It's like a joke gift, and somebody in the family inherits this
and gets
first item or whatever.
Pretty much, and you had to wear it that whole day too. So, I don't know like how they select the person for the following year to get it, like if it's drawn that day, but I thought that was pretty fun. So I liked that. But
do you know where my first thought went? It's like whoever makes somebody mad at the dinner table or what
gets the bunny costume. Yeah. It's bunny timeout. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I thought that was super fun.
That's actually really cool. I hadn't heard of that ever. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's about it.
Home video headlines. Here's another holiday playlist for you. How about this lineup? Die Hard 2, Lethal Weapon, Bad Santa.
Love Bad Santa.
White Reindeer, and The Night Before. So let's break these down. So Die Hard is probably the most rewatched movie of the season for me, I realized. Like when I'm putting this list together, I go like, why is Die Hard 2 here? Oh, because without any kind of like nudging or influence or whatever, if I'm just kicking back watching TV, I'm gonna find my way to Die Hard 2. Over the original. It still happens at the holidays. It's still Christmas related action movie. And then I actually forgot. I forgot Lethal Weapon takes place at Christmas. And I guess like the contrast in that movie is like they play like Jingle Bell Rock and like all I Want for Christmas, and like they have some, the usual Christmas songs on the soundtrack. But I guess that's the juxtaposition of like, so the Murtaugh family has like a bunch of kids and they do the family thing, and then Riggs on the other side is like, one of the main plot points is like that his wife is dead and he's alone. So like to have the story take place during the holidays, like just even more present that those feelings, right? To set the story in. Bad Santa is basically a Christmas heist with a bad Santa played by Billy Bob Thornton, who actually, this is not my favorite movie with Billy Bob, but it's, if you want like an R-rated Santa Claus movie and you want a grown-up movie for the holidays, you go to Bad Santa. There is a sequel. If you like Kathy Bates, she plays his very twisted mother in part 2, and we'll find out why he ended up being a bad Santa in the first place. However, I think like my favorite Billy Bob movie is probably, he plays the NASA director in Armageddon. So, and then White Reindeer is a really kind of twisted story. I think like the woman's husband is dead and she's a realtor, and she finds out he's like spent all their money on cocaine and swingers events or something like that. And so she starts to interact with his secret social group that he was a part of, and she kind of like has a nervous breakdown at the holiday time naturally, right? Her husband dies and she finds out they have nothing or whatever. And and I think like they have the nervous breakdown start pretty much like as the movie starts, and it just gets really like unraveled from there. This is not a movie that I wouldn't recommend it in a general basis. You know what I mean? But if you're gonna go out of the way and see something, because like even at one point there's like a swinger sequence. You know what I mean? Like she goes to one of the parties and I'd say some Jingle Bells type stuff is happening there. Use your imagination.
Use your imagination, folks. Yeah.
And then the night before, I watch this movie probably like twice a year, actually. Once during the holidays and once just whenever I'm reminded about it. It's actually pretty good. It's like there's Seth Rogen,
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Yeah, Joseph Gordon-Levitt and Anthony Mackie. They're like the three main characters. They're friends who like grew up together. Then Joseph Gordon-Levitt's character, his parents die around Christmas. So then every year the two friends come back and like kind of have like a Christmas anniversary with them to deal with that. But then like as they now go into like what their permanent lives are going to be, they're kind of settling down. Like they're moving out of like celebrating the Christmas. But one thing they haven't been able to do is like they keep hearing about this party. So they're kind of on a mystical quest for this like elusive
legendary
executive
party.
Legendary party, like the best party in the city. And then you find out the story is magic, obviously. You know what I mean? There's some Wonderful Life-esque angel type magic, and that the party has like a magic element to it, and they're gonna end up there for the first time in like the 10 years they've been doing this stuff or whatever. It's funny. It's super funny.
It is a good one.
Take a look at it. Wow. Okay. We've arrived at tonight's movie. It's called Batman Returns. The Penguin runs for the mayor, while Batman and Catwoman get mixed up in mistletoe. You got Michael Keaton as Batman, who was kind of like exclusively known as Batman 89, referred to in the multiverse of Batmans in the comic books. It's Batman 89. You got Michelle Pfeiffer, Danny DeVito, Christopher Walken. The movie is once again scored by Danny Elfman and directed, of course, by Tim Burton. Okay, so if I want to crack open some of the lovely movies from the cast, it's kind of my new thing that I want to do on here, is Michael Keaton is Batman, of course, which I just literally said 2 seconds ago. But if you see him in, I think like, I guess I'm also basing these on my gut, right? Like, what do I think are like the best movies from the main cast, right? So there's a movie called Gung Ho that he's in, and that movie actually created our feel-good movie lineup. We do a whole month of feel-good movies. Gung Ho was the inspiration behind the entire series.
Wow.
Little trivia about our own show. And then the founder, where he plays, I think it's Ray Kroc, right? Who kind of swindles the McDonald's Corporation out of from the McDonald's brothers, but whatever. I watched The Founder a lot, and then Beetlejuice was special to me as a kid. We mentioned Beetlejuice last week, because there's a crossover with a cast member from the Dracula movie we covered before. But
iconic.
I remember, I remember having all the toys or whatever. So that was a big deal to me when I was a kid. However, I feel like Spotlight's also good. Birdman's also good. Michelle Pfeiffer, Dangerous Minds, or a movie called The Story of Us, or how about Wolf, which is kind of Wolfman werewolf related. Those are some of my favorite movies with her. Danny DeVito. I tend to like stuff earlier Danny DeVito, right? I mean, we could acknowledge that he's in Always Sunny, but I actually like him in Get Shorty or Twins, or even this movie called Other People's Money, which is like one of his older movies. Who's next on this list? Christopher Walken. I actually think this Batman Returns is probably the first movie that I saw him in. Playing one of the villains today, Max Schreck, playing a business tycoon. But he's great.
Tim Burton lateral one is Sleepy Hollow.
He plays the Headless Horseman in Sleepy Hollow, which is pretty good. But I was going for he plays a haunted psychic in The Dead Zone, which is a Stephen King story, and they adapted it to a movie. And we actually covered a movie about a female bounty hunter way at the beginning of the year. And he plays the crazy TV producer that's trying to turn her bounty hunter life into a reality show. I said I would bring that up, tie it back in. Oh, and I love this movie he's in called King of New York, where he plays like a crime kingpin. Those are, that's it. I mean, that's the main cast. The cast is filled with other people, obviously, but I just focused on the three villains and Batman himself. And check this out. It's time to go to our theme song. I've been so excited I didn't even play our theme song. Here it is, just to remind people what show they're in.
Crack open a cold box of wine or pour something cold on ice because it's the Binge-Watchers podcast.
Now back to the show you were already listening to before I took the time out to play the theme song. Usually I play it makes more sense when I play it at the beginning of the show, but whatever. I wanted to show Jordan the new video that we made for him.
That was,
If you're watching this episode, you'll get it. But if you're just listening, you'll be like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Move on. There's a burning bowling ball. That's all I can tell you. Where are we? Oh, about to pass over the spotlight to Jordan for some savage stats about Batman Returns.
All right. I've got lots of stats, so cut me off anywhere, anytime, right? We don't want me getting
real fresh now.
We don't want me getting drunk on stats.
Here's some killer iconic movies. What are you going to tell us about?
Okay, so starting off with the movie's tone and depiction of certain characters, especially around the Penguin and Catwoman, they differed significantly from the comic book versions of themselves. This departure did cause, of course, some controversy among comic book fans specifically. But still to note, unlike many superhero movies, that this specific movie doesn't focus on a single villain, right? It's got three main antagonists. You have Danny DeVito as a penguin, you have Catwoman with Michelle Pfeiffer, and then Max Schreck, of course, Christopher Walken. So many stats about like those specific people's transformations, starting off with Michelle Pfeiffer. She actually had her costume vacuum sealed to her body. So it'd be fitted on her and then they would vacuum seal it. So it would only allow for her to do her scenes with so much time allotted, or else she would like practically pass out, which is like crazy. Right? Yeah, she would suffocate. She also couldn't hear her own voice while wearing the costume because it was so tight. So she had to constantly be checked with her actual volume because she was like shouting so loud on set. In addition to that, she had to be covered in talcum powder in order to wear it comfortably, and does not get nostalgic, although incredibly iconic, does not get nostalgic for the costume at all. She said she'd be happy to never have to see it ever again in her life. Although it is, I mean, it's up there in my favorites worth the Catwoman
I
costumes.
believe Catwoman is a whole search on Pornhub.
I guarantee it is. And
she's probably the reason.
The reason why, exactly.
Well, Eartha Kitt's a pretty sexy Catwoman in the like. There's two other Catwoman. What's the other Catwoman's name?
There's also Anne Hathaway. There's Zoe
Kravitz. Nothing after Michelle Pfeiffer. I was talking about like the 1960s Batman show. They had like I think two other Catwomen.
So, but that's okay. Let's just talk about the lineup as a whole. You can't go wrong. Okay, they're all really good looking cat ladies. So A+ for them. So Danny DeVito, his makeup took about, I think, like 3 hours every single day to get that grotesque of an appearance. So they had to completely redo his trailer so that they took out cabinets so he could put in like movies and had movies be brought in while he actually had his makeup done. His costume also was so scary. The monkey that's in the film was like incredibly terrified of Danny DeVito specifically. And at one point in filming, the monkey had like tried to attack him. I think it was like the first time that the monkey had come across Danny DeVito when he's like handing essentially
all
the letter.
His goons in the movie are from a circus. He's got like clowns and I mean, at one point he has missile strapped penguins, but
which is pretty cool. Okay, so Tim Burton, of course, brought his signature darks and gothic style to the film, which, okay, love it. You know, this is iconic for that specific reason. If we're talking back with Beetlejuice, with the whole, you know,
and this is actually like primo Tim Burton because this is before he starts using like CGI, so he's still painting and building everything. So yeah,
it's incredible.
Production
Absolutely
design out of control in his early movies.
Well, and they said it was like one of the largest that was built. They had to like they built them in the English countryside, of course, like shipped them back on over. The sets itself had shifted so frequently because they were all actually mobile and movable that Michelle Pfeiffer was like constantly getting lost on set because it would shift so frequently throughout the day. The penguins themselves also were really hard to get. There was only like very few king penguins that were actually trained and in captivity. So the penguins had like their own complete side of set for themselves with refrigerated pools.
Spoiler alert, they have to do a funeral walk with the penguin when he dies. So it's like a Roman funeral, like they're dragging their general to his grave or whatever.
Well, and they also do have like robotic or animatronic penguins in the movie in addition to real penguins. And they had said that honestly, the penguins were so incredibly happy in this like making of the movie that some of them were like often laying eggs. They were like super content. And one story
they made them like a winter wonderland in like a fake zoo or something.
Completely like perfect temperatures. They had around the clock bodyguards. And then even a moment where they were like trying to put away the robotic penguins, they came across an actual real life penguin that was snuggled up to the mechanical one. So penguins were pretty happy, treated pretty well on this movie. I thought that was pretty cute. Of course, while Batman Returns was commercially successful, it was a bit polarizing among audiences, as I mentioned before, because it was a little bit.
Okay, so I remember there was controversy when they announced Michael Keaton as Batman because I'm not sure what he had done. He'd done a couple. I don't know what he did before Batman, but like they're like, you mean the stand-up comedian Michael Keaton? You know what I mean? There's actually like there's a documentary about that, like who is the Batman who's going to play him. And there's a bunch of news footage of like people on the street, like man on the street footage of like Michael Keaton, the Batman. No. So you think like, you know, the comic book fans are ravenous now with all their freaking social media accounts. Like,
oh my god,
no, it was still going on, you know, back in the whatever.
Kind of reminds me of Elf too, though. Like they did not want Will Ferrell to do that at all. And so like, but can you even imagine Elf without him at this point? No. And, you know, Michael Keaton made for a great Batman. So, yeah, that's it for some highlights, for some stats, some fun trivia for tonight's movie.
If you love DVDs like I do, you love movies, and you want to get that nostalgia feeling going, you can get subscription boxes of movies. You can get whole boxes of DVDs shipped to you at a mom and pop store called Loved Again Media. We actually have an affiliate set up with them. So all you have to do is go to lovedagainmedia.com/binge. You can get boxes of movies, vinyl records. I was mentioning video games earlier. You can get some video games shipped out to you. They got different subscription boxes, different levels if you want DVDs or Blu-rays or comedies or what have you. I mean, it's a little late in the game, but they have movie advent boxes for the holidays going on too. So take a look at that. Otherwise, we'll just keep rolling with our podcast about Batman Returns. Favorite bits from Batman Returns.
I would say to start it off pretty early, and you had just briefly mentioned them, is the Penguin's gang of clowns. It's like a circus. When he is okay, so it's like that first scene at like the Gotham Square where the mayor's being introduced by Max, Shrek.
Well, this is kind of like the Rocket People for Reality. This is like their version of lighting the Rockefeller Christmas tree in New York City or whatever.
Right. And so they're trying to light the tree, and this massive present comes out, and it's actually the like goons, the Penguin's goons. And it just was like such classic, like Tim Burton feels and vibes for me. The costumes are so absolutely outrageous and done incredibly well. I loved the like clown that was like a massive skull on his head. And there's people in stilts, and Batman's just like going around and combating all of these, like, I don't know. How do you combine a circus and Christmas? But it was just done like so incredibly well, and it's just so like phantasmic and very much done in a Tim Burton way, and I thought it was pretty rad. So that to start, and also Michelle Pfeiffer's transformation, of course. Max Shrek pushes.
Dang it! That's like my first bullet point under my favorite bits. Catwoman's
really?
transformation.
Yeah,
I knew we were going to overlap
too, but I started with I guess chronologically what had started in the movie. Yeah, Max Shrek pushing his assistant off of a massive, through the building. She falls to her death, and essentially that's like her first of 9 lives. And these cats just kind of swarm around her, and she comes back as Catwoman. And my favorite part is when she goes back into her apartment, because it's like all pink. It's very girly, and she goes back in and she just like completely wrecks it. She's spray painting the place black. She's preparing her Catwoman suit. I love that there's a neon sign in her apartment, and it originally says hello there. And in her transformation, she knocks out the O and she knocks out the T, and it says hell here in it once she's like completed the transformation and standing in her apartment. I thought it was all super good. So
I wrote Catwoman licking Batman. That's my favorite bit number 2.
Okay.
Or when the Penguin bites his campaign clerk when he's running for mayor. There's a scene where they get into an argument, and I just remember he like bites some dude's nose off.
Mm-hmm.
That's my third favorite bit. I figured I would be nice. I mean, there's a lot to talk about. Like at one point, his gang hacks the computer inside his Batmobile, and the Penguin got his little kiddie ride version of the Batmobile, and he's controlling the actual Batmobile remotely, right? And Batman's trying to avoid getting into an accident. Going back to the cat transformation, we didn't mention like the cats are literally licking her wounds and then breathing life back into her. They go by 9 lives. I don't know about Selena Kyle in the comic books actually having 9 lives of cats. This movie wastes most of them, so even if they had a direct sequel and like let's bring the Catwoman back, they kind of screwed up with that because they use most of the lives in this movie. So I mean, and it's like, oh, are we looking for criticisms? Well, there's one. you know what I mean? Like the waste of the 9 lives of Catwoman. It's kind of nice that, another spoiler alert, he thinks he sees her. Obviously, it's a star-crossed love. It would be a bad romance if we were talking about it in February. Like There's reasons why Batwoman and Catwoman can't hook up. They're on opposite sides of the conflict. But at the end of the movie, he thinks he sees her in an alleyway on like Christmas Eve or whatever it is. And so he stops and gets out to see if he can catch her, to reunite with her after the fighting's all over with. And then she's just left one of her cats behind. And then he takes, like, obviously it's an orphan cat. So he's Bruce Wayne's probably not going to keep a cat in his mansion. He's probably not going to make Alfred, like,
scoop
take
litter.
care of the cat. Yeah. So, but I think like they're at least going to house the cat for Christmas Eve and probably give it a bowl of milk,
Yeah.
And they'll probably have to, foster it out or something. But anyway, I had heard they had planned a third Batman with Michael Keaton. And if I was a better researcher or a better podcaster, maybe I would have looked up the reason, because I hadn't intended to talk about it. So I didn't look it up.
And here we are.
No, I'm not going to discredit myself as a podcaster or a movie fan. I'm just going to say, like, I hadn't intended to talk about the supposed third movie story, but some of its elements ended up in the next Batman, Batman Forever, where Val Kilmer plays Batman and the Riddler shows up and Two-Face shows up. Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't recall the reasons Keaton wasn't in number 3, but let's see. Oh, okay. Usually we say binge now, binge later, binge never. But I think Jordan had helped me create last week Jingle now, Jingle later, and Jingle never. Did I remember that correctly, or did I write something else?
I think I said unwrap it now, or I don't know.
Something about being unwrapping the presents. You're right.
Yeah,
There's
but
something.
I don't know. We might need to play it back.
Whatever.
Like,
where do you land? Jingle it now, jingle it later, or jingle it never?
Jingle it now. It was so great. Yeah, it was nostalgic. It was, honestly, after watching this, I'm like, okay, Michael Keaton's definitely my Batman. I took a poll. I wanted to hear what people's thoughts were this week. And a lot of people were saying Christian Bale. And I was like, I don't know. After watching this.
Like, maybe because he's only in a TV show or a TV movie and it's not considered as cinematic as the other Batman. Like, I don't remember who played Batman. There is a 30s like movie, 40s movie. I don't know who that Batman is, but I think of Adam West from the 1960s show.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I noticed he wasn't included in your Batman.
Okay, whatever.
Like, whatever. But Batman 89 won you over, huh?
It did. Yeah. It just like it just reminded me of some of my favorite like iconic movies from not only Tim Burton, but like that kind of era. I think when you can do effects and things like that, when it's like people put their freaking blood, sweat, and tears and stuff like that.
I would say it's like neck and neck between Michael Keaton and Christian Bale's Batman as cinematic Batman, like Batman on the screen. But I think the way my imagination thinks about the comic book, who does the comic book right, is Adam West. Like, if we're thinking comic book Batman, and then people are going to think this is controversial, Ben Affleck's Batman and Adam West are the closest to what I think is like the iteration of comic Batman. Like, and mostly Batfleck is taken from, I can't think of the artist's name because he did The Dark Knight and The Dark Knight Returns, like Frank Miller's Batman.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of Frank Miller's Batman is in Ben Affleck's Batman. But if you read a bunch of Batman comics, like the personalities that seem to mold the comics and how ridiculous they are, if that Batman was walking around, I think it would be either Ben Affleck or Adam West. I don't think it would be Christian Bale, or I'm not even gonna name the other guy. Okay, the sparkling vampire Batman is not even. I'm not even gonna say his name out loud.
Oh, you're so funny.
I still can't acknowledge him as an actor. So anyway, yeah. Okay. Oh, if you watch something else that wasn't assigned, doesn't have the holiday spirit, or if you're watching your own holiday movies, besides Casper's Christmas or the original Casper there, Jordan.
I actually watched so many movies yesterday. Let's see if I can remember.
You crammed a whole bunch in?
I watched like 4 different movies
I mean,
yesterday. It was a
to be fair,
lazy
I told her at the
Sunday.
last minute that we were gonna still show up tonight and do something.
One of them was The Silencing. That was
The
definitely
Silencing?
yeah, it was good
The hell
though.
is that?
Let me see if I can pull it up, what it was. It is with the
Old
actor
movie? New movie? What?
new
What's the deal here?
movie. It's recently added to Netflix. It's a crime thriller. A former hunter begins tracking a killer who might have kidnapped his daughter in the past. And it is the actor who plays Jaime Lannister in the Game of Thrones.
Oh,
Coaster
something Coster
Waldo,
Walder.
something like
Oh,
that. Yeah.
Nikolai Coster Walder, I think is his name.
So good. So good. I was on the edge of my seat the whole time. That was really good. I did watch some like sci-fi thing that I
Until
don't
you
know.
said his name, the description of the movie was like paint by numbers, like every movie
They don't do
about
great synopsis.
every espionage movie that ever existed. Like,
I'll go into details. So his character is
no,
a
wait, hold on, you said you watched
reformed
a bunch. I
hunter.
don't want to know more about that one. I want to
Okay.
hear the next one.
The other one, what was it called? It had Alexander Skarsgård in it. It's sci-fi. And it was, I'll have to find it. It was a cute love story, but in sci-fi Germany. So picture
What?
that. Yeah. I'll have to find it. It was really good. Oh, and I watched Reptile. That was incredible with Benicio del
That's like a
Toro
true
and Justin
crimey type
Timberlake. Yeah.
killer
I was
thing.
on a crime spree yesterday.
I
So
guess so.
in watching movies, not actually committing
Yeah, I was gonna say
crime.
not literally. FBI's like their little algorithm.
Yeah,
probing Google.
just like
We got
kidding
you.
me. They're already watching me. Let's
Her
be
last
real.
name means murder, guys. We
Yeah,
got her.
exactly. So that was a few of mine
You know what's
that I had
funny? I
watched.
watched a crime adjacent story, actually.
What'd you watch?
A Canadian crime story, no less. It's called Owning Mahoney, but the guy's real name in real life is Maloney. Kind of a stretch to change it from Maloney to Mahoney. But apparently, like, this bank manager, he has a gambling addiction. So every time he would take out a loan for a corporate client, he would like pad it and add money to it, then take the extra money in their accounts and like fly off to either Atlantic City or Vegas from someplace in Canada, like a Vancouver bank or something. But it's Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Oh, love him.
And then the fiance is played by Minnie Driver, who's a cool British actress. And then John Hurt, who's like a famous British actor, going all the way back to Alien, where he got the Alien. He's iconic imagery is like Alien's like one of his first movies, and he's the guy that had the alien burst out of his chest. He's in a bunch of things. What was he in right before he died? I don't know. Anyway, look him up, John Hurt. You'll see he's in a bunch of things. But he plays the Weasley casino manager or whatever, who's like, yes, gamble all your millions away. You know what I mean? Like, he's the one comping rooms, and he assigns like some guy at the casino to like shadow, Mahoney while he's at the tables and everything. One scene I don't believe, when they give him the free escort, I don't think he, like, I'm like, oh, you're trying to have a redeemable moment for the character, like he doesn't cheat on the girlfriend or whatever. But I'm like, no. High price escort walks in, fur coat. He just lost $60,000 at the table or something. He's not going to spend the night with the hooker. Give me a break. Let's be honest about how people operate. Merry Christmas, everyone. Happy holidays. Happy Hanukkah. Happy Kwanzaa. Talking about people's dark souls and happy holidays.
Oh, so
I
good.
forgot it was a stocking stuffer episode. I was just like, we're talking about murder, death, crime.
Happy hooker. I mean, happy holidays. Whatever.
That's a movie. The Happy Hooker Goes to Washington is actually a movie.
Doesn't surprise me.
You learn something new every day on this show.
It's true. It's true.
What else? Like, subscribe, leave a review if you like Batman Returns, or you like that other guy who won't be named. And We'll keep making shows if you guys keep listening or watching. We'll definitely be here. And what else is going on? Not much. The next time we come back, we might do, if there's time. I'm trying to get all the elements together for a New Year's special. I don't know. That'll be wrapping it up or unwrapping it, whichever way your mind goes.
Depends.
Otherwise, yeah, we'll be back in the new year. Some of our listeners are funny. Like, one dude was like, "Oh, what happened to so and so?" Or "What did this happen to so and so?" I'm like, "Well, clearly you haven't been listening for like months." You know what I mean? Like
6 months or
he's
so.
He's gonna listen to the Christmas episode next summer. You know. Oh, but wait, Danny G on Instagram responded to last week's episode where we had made this funny plot out of, like, we were talking about the way to really know you're doing well in 2023 is if you can afford your holiday tree. So you got that tree money, honey.
Got that tree money.
We're developing a whole movie plot out of it. And he said, I wrote it down. He said, he was suggesting that the Tree Money Honey movie could be a Snoop Dogg holiday special.
It would be so perfect. I can imagine Snoop Dogg narrating it in rhymes, you know, in the beginning, and it would just. And you gotta.
I mean, if you're getting him involved and he's actually doing narration, but also playing a character, then you gotta also do like the claymation, Rankin Bass, 1960s, like Rudolph the Reindeer and Frosty the Snowman, like, you know, like claymation. Like there has to be a claymation sequence in Snoop Dogg's holiday special.
Honestly, it would be so funny to do stop motion with Snoop on a stoop, you know? Because, like,
what?
Have you not seen Snoop on a stoop?
No, dude.
It's a real thing. It's just like Elf on the Shelf, but it's Snoop Dogg, and he's got like a little joint out of his mouth or whatever you want to call it. I don't know if you got it or whatever. But
it's
Snoop
like a parody of Elf on the Shelf?
Yeah, and so it would be so funny. You could do a whole scene of stop motion with Snoop on a stoop doing, you know, funny stuff. Holiday related activities. You know?
Okay. I believe you. I almost said your line again.
It's hard. It's contagious, okay? Don't pretend you hate it. Don't pretend you hate it. But yeah, I'm here for Snoop on a stoop.
Wow.
Light those trees up, baby.
Or maybe don't put the stockings next to an actual fire.
Don't.
Like, what we'll find out is like, oh no, you know, kids misinterpreted what they were seeing. Santa Claus was never a toy maker or gift giver. He's a fireman who showed up in a red jacket to put out the damn fire when they burnt their stockings to the ground.
That actually seems like it makes sense, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I'm just gonna